Hey there, I want to give you a quick intro to how the CG Toolkit works and try to demystify the big mess of files that's in this folder structure. There are three main parts of the CG Toolkit that everything can be broken down into. Utilities, which is what I've added to the Unity editor for you, so some simple, helpful tools. I'll give you an example of a couple of them. If I've got a simple environment going right here, and I want to place some objects around, I can use utilities to help me do that. So if I open up the CG toolbar, this is where most of our utilities live. I can dock it to the right of my viewport, which I find works pretty well. So one thing I can do, if I've got three cubes selected or three props of any kind selected and a ground below them, I can use the ground utility to plop them on the ground very quickly. Say these were a bunch of objects that I wanted to look kind of scattered around, but they're all facing the same direction. Well, I can click all of them, set randomize to Y, and randomize the rotation to make them look a little bit different. I could randomize them on all axes to make them look like they've kind of fallen over. If I want them to go back to a regular view, I can use the 0 command. So I can zero out their rotation and set them all to 0 rotation. If I want them all to be aligned, kind of snap to grid a little bit, and they're not, see how these are all in kind of decimal positions, I can select them all, change to position, and snap the position now. And again, I can lift them up and ground them to get them all set on the ground. If I wanted them all to be at the position of this cube, I can make sure I'm on position, copy this cube, select all the other cubes, and then paste their position, so they're all pasted to that position. And all these tools will work with transform, which is position, rotation, and scale, or one of each. There is a bring near here. So we all know that if an object is off screen, we can press F to find it and zoom to it very quickly. We can also use bring near to bring it to our camera, kind of a reverse find. The other thing that CG Toolkit does is it creates interactions. So interactions can be made through the interaction window, or we can pull the components out of the triggers and actions folders inside the library itself. So to understand triggers and actions, triggers are events that are recognized. So we can recognize when something touches a collider with trigger by collider. We can recognize when something is clicked on by the user with trigger by click, if something was attacked by the player or by an enemy by trigger by attack. These are all scripts that recognize when events have occurred in game and then are able to trigger actions. So that's where actions come in. When one trigger has identified that something has taken place, an action can then do something with that resulting trigger. So an action can load a new level. It can move an object up or down or sideways, or to a new location. It can rotate an object. It can spawn another object. It can even upgrade your player's movement. Lots and lots of things you can do with the actions here. Those are the three main components of the CG Toolkit. The utilities also include very quick creation of objects. So with the CG Toolkit create player and world here, I'll make a new scene and I can create a player and a world very, very quickly. So there's a quick world, and I can create a player without having to set up anything or program anything. Very, very quickly, this player can now run around and I can play with them. I can even create enemies the same way. Or I can create night lights to change my lighting scheme. So that's a quick overview of what we can do with these. I'll show you a couple triggers and actions, then I'll let you be on your way. So I'll create another quick world. We'll get a nice daylight going this time. And I will create a particle effect. So this particle effect, when I get near it, will trigger something. So let's make it not branch out quite as much there. Let's turn off the shape. And then we'll just turn the lifetime down to 2, maybe 0.2. So we can just kind of see this pulsing thing over here. Let me change this ground color to be a little bit darker so we can see what we're doing. Make it red. Okay, so now we can definitely see that particle system. So let's use a trigger on the particle system to detect when we've gotten close to it to create an action that will spawn something. So what are we going to spawn? Well, we can spawn any prefab. So if I look at my prefabs folder, I've set you up with a handful of prefabs already. Let's say we spawn a bomb. So a bomb can be spawned at a new location. So I'll make an empty object for that and make a bomb spawn over here. Maybe that. So I'll call this spawn bomb here. So I would create this trigger an action, or this interaction. I can use the interactions button here, or I can go into game object, CG Toolkit, create interaction. So first thing I want to have selected is my trigger. So again, the trigger is the thing that recognizes something has happened and can then tell an action to occur. So I'm going to use by distance. So by default this says distance to player. Distance is 5. Let's go with 1. So we got to get pretty close, within 1 unit of this. Okay, and now spawn bomb here. I'll select and we'll say spawn something. So under the spawn something I've got spawn this none game object. Well, I can just give it this bomb and create. So now when I walk up to this game object, I'll get a bomb created over here. Check out the other CG Toolkit tutorials to learn how to do more.